It began, as most internet wildfires do, with a single video. A video Jameela Jamil probably recorded in less than 5 minutes, standing in her living room, hair loosely tied back, wearing no glamorous makeup, no stylist-approved wardrobe, no cinematic lighting. It wasn't polished. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't packaged like a TikTok influencer's pre-planned rant for views. It was raw, unfiltered, and full of that steady urgency you hear when someone has held something inside for too long. And within hours, it detonated into one of the loudest debates Hollywood has seen this year. Jameela Jamil looked straight into the camera and said, in a calm but piercing tone, "Hollywood has brought back the aesthetic of emaciation, and everyone's pretending not to notice." Her voice didn't shake. She didn't blink much. She spoke with the kind of conviction that comes from frustration, not performance. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a trend-chasing soundbite. And it definitely wasn't the kind of diplomatic statement celebrities usually make when commenting on beauty standards. Within minutes, the clip started spreading. Then it started blowing up. Then it became inescapable. People were screen recording it, reposting it, stitching it, debating it. And soon, it wasn't just Jameela's followers or body positivity advocates reacting. It was the entire internet. Fashion bloggers, nutritionists, fitness influencers, stan accounts, gossip pages, podcast hosts, and even celebrities who normally stay silent on controversies suddenly had opinions. The intensity of the reaction wasn't because Jameela said something new. It was because she said something everyone felt, but no one wanted to admit publicly. And she said it in a climate where the conversation around bodies, especially women's bodies, is always one triggered comment away from a digital war zone. Her video was only 60 seconds long, but it cut a cultural wound wide open. She talked about the sudden return of ultra-thin celebrity physiques on red carpets, in paparazzi photos, in magazine shoots, and on social media. She talked about the way Hollywood trends cycle, how one decade glorifies curves, the next fetishizes ribs and collarbones, the next pretends everything is body positive while quietly rewarding the exact same beauty standards that once fueled entire generations of eating disorders. She talked about how even celebrities who preach self-love online are quietly shrinking themselves offline, pressured by a machine more powerful than any public statement. But what really electrified people was the line where Jameela said, "Bodies that look like malnutrition is a fashion choice are being celebrated again, and pretending this isn't happening is irresponsible." That was the spark. Jameela has never been afraid to speak boldly, but this time, she touched a nerve that ran deep through Hollywood's glittering exterior. The topic was already simmering beneath the surface. Fans had been whispering about sudden weight changes in stars, about the return of 2000s-style silhouettes, about Ozempic culture, and about the normalization of extreme dieting disguised as wellness. But no public figure had dared to say, bluntly, what people suspected. Until now. What made the video even more explosive was that Jameela didn't aim her words at individuals. She didn't accuse any single celebrity, any single agency, any single designer. She attacked the system, the entire Hollywood machine that manufactures insecurities and sells impossible expectations disguised as trends. She said, it isn't normal for grown women to look like dolls. It isn't aspirational, and it isn't accidental. And just like that, the debate transformed from casual gossip into a cultural reckoning. Supporters praised Jameela for calling out what they saw as a dangerous backward shift. They argued that young people, especially teenage girls, are being fed a new wave of toxic thinspiration in the age of filters, AI beautification, and TikTok virality. They pointed out that celebrities are promoting clean eating, wellness fasting, metabolic resets, and detoxes, while privately following extreme regimens. They said Jameela was brave. They said she said what other celebrities were too afraid to acknowledge. They said her honesty was refreshing, necessary, overdue. But the backlash was equally powerful. Thousands accused her of shaming naturally thin people. Others accused her of projecting personal insecurities onto the industry. Some said she was jealous of skinny actresses. Some argued that she was simplifying a complex topic. And many argued that it wasn't Hollywood promoting thinness, it was simply personal choice. Within just hours, the internet split itself into Team Jameela and Team She's Overreacting. And every stitch, every reaction video, every commentary thread only made the clip go more viral. Even celebrities weighed in, some subtly, some directly, some anonymously. A young up-and-coming actress posted a cryptic Instagram story that said, "Let women choose their bodies," which many interpreted as shade thrown at Jameela. In contrast, a veteran actress known for her openness about eating disorders reposted Jameela's clip with the caption, "Thank you for saying this before more girls get hurt." Meanwhile, fashion journalists began digging through recent red carpet photos, comparing past thin eras to the images circulating in 2025. They began analyzing silhouettes, trends, the sudden reappearance of ultra-slim gowns, and the increasing pressure for celebrities to look snatched at all times. And in that analysis, some started to agree there was a visible shift taking place, one that wasn't accidental. At the same time, TikTok creators began telling their own stories, how the beauty expectations they feel today resemble the intense pressure of the early 2000s when low-rise jeans, tabloid body shaming, and eating disorder culture were at their peak. Comment sections flooded with confessions like, "I'm scared we're going back to that era," and "I thought we were past this." Jameela had unintentionally opened a door many people hoped would stay closed. But this wasn't just about beauty standards, it was about power. Because Hollywood isn't just an entertainment industry, it's a cultural trendsetter. When Hollywood changes its aesthetic, the world follows, sometimes willingly, sometimes unconsciously. And Jameela's point was that Hollywood should take responsibility for the impact it has, instead of hiding behind words like health, lifestyle, or creative expression. The more people rewatched the clip, the more they realized she wasn't attacking bodies, she was attacking pressure, the kind of pressure that never stops, that never rests, that forces people, celebrities and fans, to constantly question their worth based on their shape. By day 2, the clip had escalated into a trending topic giant. Hashtags like Hollywood body debate, Jameela Jamil truth, and aesthetic of emaciation were trending across platforms. And the debate grew more complicated. Some medical professionals chimed in, agreeing that a sudden uniform trend toward extreme thinness could signal unhealthy pressures within the industry. Many added that the rapid rise of weight loss drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro had fundamentally changed the landscape of celebrity physiques. Still, many insisted that policing women's bodies, even with good intentions, is harmful. They argue that calling certain bodies emaciated is a form of shaming, even if the target was Hollywood and not individuals. They said Jameela should have framed the issue differently without using such loaded language. But the reason Jameela's words hit so deeply was because they weren't soft. They weren't filtered or softened by careful PR phrasing. They were blunt because she believed subtlety would cut through Hollywood's glossy, carefully curated illusions. Blunt was the only way to make people pay attention. Even so, the chaos around the video wasn't just about the content, it was about the timing. Award season is approaching. Red carpets are everywhere. Paparazzi photos of extremely slim celebrities are circulating every hour. And fans have been whispering about body changes, sudden weight drops, and unhealthy trends for months. Jameela's video didn't introduce the conversation, it detonated the one everyone was avoiding. And behind the scenes, Hollywood insiders were panicking. Stylists, publicists, designers, trainers, everyone knew this conversation was going to create complications. Some thought it would pressure celebrities to respond, others thought the industry would ignore the issue entirely, hoping the storm would pass. But one thing was clear. The video forced everyone to face the truth they kept sweeping under the rug. And the undeniability of it The fact that it felt like someone finally said the quiet part out loud made the internet cling to it with obsessive intensity. By the end of the week, the video wasn't just viral, it was historic, and the debate it triggered wasn't slowing down. If anything, the ripple effect was just beginning.
The deeper the debate grew, the more it became clear that Jameela Jamil hadn't just posted a video. She had cracked open a pressure chamber Hollywood had spent years tightening shut. What began as a blunt critique evolved into a sprawling cultural confrontation. And by the third day, the conversation had shifted away from Jameela herself and became a mirror reflecting back the insecurities, anxieties, and contradictions of an entire generation. What made the situation even more explosive was how rapidly celebrities began reacting, not publicly, not through official statements, but through subtleties. A handful of actresses started reposting older photos of themselves from years when their bodies were fuller, healthier, more natural. Some added cryptic captions like growth, healing, or my real shape. Others simply posted gym-free, unfiltered selfies, something rare in a world where even casual photos are curated. At the same time, certain public figures suddenly began emphasizing that their thinness came from genetics, health conditions, stress, or hormone fluctuations. None of them named Jameela, but everyone could see the connection. The timing was too precise. And for fans, these posts were either confirmation or contradiction of what she said. Some saw them as defensive, others saw them as clarifying, others saw them as proof of just how much weight her video carried. But the most intense shift came from the community of young women who saw themselves reflected in the debate, and not in a glamorous way. They talked about calorie counting, body checking, comparison spirals, and the familiar ache of feeling not enough. They talked about watching TikToks that promoted clean girl diets and actress-approved morning routines, disguised as self-care but secretly designed to achieve extreme thinness. And for them, Jameela wasn't attacking thin bodies. She was attacking the system that made them fear their own. And yet, with every hour, the backlash against her grew just as fiercely. Influencers accused her of creating a moral panic. Fitness pages said she was fear-mongering. Some celebrities who belonged to the ultra-thin category felt personally targeted, even if she never named anyone. One outspoken model tweeted, "Let me be thin in peace." That became a meme within minutes. People spun it into jokes, edits, commentary, but beneath the humor was something real. A discomfort with being the symbol of a trend, especially one tied to such a sensitive topic. Meanwhile, talk shows and late-night hosts jumped on the story. Some discussed it thoughtfully. Others made punchlines out of it. One comedian joked, "Hollywood bringing back the aesthetic of emaciation? Great, just what we needed. The early 2000s called they want their body trauma back." The audience laughed, but the truth stung. Even journalists who normally avoided social commentary began running think pieces. They questioned whether Hollywood ever actually embraced body positivity to begin with, or whether it simply repackaged harmful expectations under new vocabulary. They questioned the role of red carpets, award season pressure, paparazzi culture, and the silent competition among celebrities to appear thinner every year. They examined whether the return of low-rise fashion was reviving old body anxieties. And above all, they questioned whether the public genuinely wanted change or just wanted new forms of aesthetic perfection to chase. Jameela stayed mostly silent during this phase, posting only a few mild responses, clarifying that her intention wasn't to shame anyone, but to address a dangerous cultural shift. She emphasized that the real issue wasn't individual bodies, it was the uniformity of the trend. It wasn't about calling out thinness, it was about calling out the sudden disappearance of body diversity in an industry that claimed it had evolved. But her clarifications did nothing to stop the tidal wave of reactions. If anything, her silence made the story grow. People were dissecting not only her words, but her lack of follow-ups. They wanted her to elaborate. They wanted her to debate with critics. They wanted her to apologize. They wanted her to double down. Everyone wanted something from her, as if her 60-second video had turned her into a spokesperson for every body-related conversation on Earth. And in that environment, the debate twisted into something darker. A discussion not just about Hollywood's pressures, but about the public's endless obsession with women's bodies. Because as the days passed, it became obvious that this wasn't only a Hollywood issue, it was a societal one. It was about how people consume beauty, how they replicate it, how they judge themselves through the lens of trends. And the most uncomfortable truth of all was this: people want body positivity, as long as it still looks perfect. People want diversity, as long as it still fits the aesthetic. People want celebrities to be real, but they punish them when they actually are. Jameela's video didn't create this contradiction, it only exposed it. Soon the debate got even more layered when wellness influencers entered the conversation. Some argued that thinness was the result of natural discipline. Others claimed the real villain wasn't Hollywood, but social media's constant comparison culture. Others blamed weight loss drugs. Others said the entire conversation was overblown, that trends don't dictate self-worth unless people allow them to. But the problem is that trends do dictate self-worth, especially for young audiences. Studies were cited, psychologists chimed in, eating disorder experts warned that glamorizing extreme thinness, intentional or not, creates ripple effects across entire generations. And through it all, one question kept resurfacing. If Hollywood knows how much influence it has, why does it pretend it doesn't? As the fire grew, people began examining how agencies, designers, and studios subtly encourage slender physiques. They examined how certain roles mysteriously go only to actresses who fit a specific mold. They examined how sample sizes in fashion houses are still shockingly small. And they examined how Hollywood often avoids addressing these issues, preferring to hide behind polished, inspirational quotes during interviews. This was the first time, in a long time, that people were openly discussing the mechanics behind the look, not just the outcome, the machinery. And even those who disliked Jameela's delivery had to admit something undeniable. She had forced Hollywood to look at itself in the mirror. She had forced the public to admit their own contradictions. She had forced a conversation no one was brave enough to start. And while the internet moved on, as it always does, the conversation left a mark, a crack in the glamour, a question that wouldn't go away. What does beauty cost, and who pays the price? In a world obsessed with perfection, Jameela Jamil had reminded everyone that the real danger isn't thinness or curves or bodies at all. The real danger is when trends become commandments, when expectations become rules, when insecurities become fashion, and when the world chooses aesthetics over health. Her video didn't end the debate, it didn't solve the problem, but it lit a spotlight, bright, uncomfortable, and impossible to ignore. And that is why it went viral.